billionaire families everywhere could teach the rest of us how to win at Monopoly. But without their wealth and powerful connections, most of us must be content to make the most of our own choice of career. While Milton Friedman may have gotten it backwards about the evils of government regulation, he understood the risks of occupational licensing pretty well. He devotes an entire chapter in his 1962 classic book, Capitalism and Freedom, to the subject.
Friedman's views on licensing take us back to those of Adam Smith, the father of modern economics. In 1776, Smith wrote this observation on the nature of urban guilds. People of the same trades seldom meet together, even for merriment and diversion, but the conversation ends in a conspiracy against the public or in some contrivance to raise prices. Since 2006, 55% of Canada's 2.5 million net new jobs have been in healthcare and professional and technical services. In other words, in the licensed professions. Regulations aren't only good for wealthy industrialists, most of us have figured out how licenses can add to our bottom line.
Since the 12th century, long before Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations, the first European universities began offering vocational training to ambitious young people looking for careers in one of the three original professions. Back then, universities, also a licensed profession, threw in lots of indoctrination on feudalism, the divine right of kings, and later, on the doctrine of discovery. This was all done for free. They wanted to ensure students understood how to serve the interests of the medieval equivalent of today's billionaire families. During the 18th and 19th centuries, the Industrial Revolution changed the social landscape. Slowly, Western universities began emphasizing management instead of religion. Indoctrination continued as before, but the rationalization for the dominance of billionaire families had shifted from God to Darwinism.
The conventional wisdom is that the U.S. is the bastion of free and unfettered capitalism and has the world's largest economy, and the richest population as a result. However, a study released in 2022 by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business found that the cost of regulation and compliance is now higher in the U.S. than it is in Canada. This is particularly true for our smallest businesses with 5 or fewer staff.
The costs for the smallest businesses were 31% higher in Canada in 2012.
In 2021, the costs were 59% higher in the U.S. It still is about 10 times more costly per employee in Canada, but at least we seem to be moving in the right direction. In the U.S., the compliance costs for the smallest businesses more than doubled.
While the regulatory costs for Canada's smallest businesses have been decreasing since 2012, one cost has been increasing. In 2021, the costs of professional services, primarily accounting, is now more than double the equivalent costs for US-based small businesses.
Does the amalgamation of Canada's 3 legacy accounting bodies in 2014 have anything to do with these increased costs? Today, the Big Four audit firms dominate the accounting profession, and they primarily serve their own interests and those of billionaire clients around the world.
Much like wealthy industrialists, professional bodies have found ingenious ways to protect the public interest while somehow increasing incomes of the largest firms that dominate their profession.